Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to another episode of Harrison Talks Pod, episode 62. Once again, we are keeping our intros short for today because man, the first round is still going on. It's not done yet. We got another day. We got a 2:30 or 3:30 p.m. game tomorrow, which I cannot believe. I don't know why that's happening with the Magic and the Pistons. But I'm going to digress from that because I said the intro's gonna be short. Joining me again today is my friend Nick. Nick, what's going on?
What's up, man? Pleasure to be back on, man. It's been a crazy first round so far. It's like you said. I mean, we're not even all the way finished yet with the first round. Like it's been really fun basketball, really interesting, intense basketball, but then also a lot of weird moments has happened as well. So we're definitely gonna dive into it. But thank you so much for having me back on.
Nick's link tree is going to be in the description, all the links and everything down there. And content wise, what you been up to lately?
And just doing a lot of writing, man, podcasting, as you guys know. For those who don't know, I host a show every Tuesday called The Best Damn W Show. Shout out to my co-hosts Jay, Low, and Wiley. Talk about everything women's basketball, WNBA, college, you name it. And then aside from that, me, I've just been doing a lot of writing, working on a lot of content. I have a actual series that I've been working on for the past year or so that I'm about to finally release. I think it's gonna be really, really interesting for a lot of women's basketball fans. So just be in tune, man. Just always try to stay consistent with everything that I do, man. Just try to always keep everything up to date and just keep going.
Just trying to be a little bit better every day.
Try to every day.
Just
Got
try.
to.
Yeah, yeah. Doing it, do it. That's cool. That's cool. Podcasting is maybe my number one motivation to just keep writing every day, and it's super
Yeah.
easy to do because I'm already taking all these notes for this podcast. Halfway through it, I'm like, oh, I'm throwing this over on a blog over here. That's really the only way that I can do it. It's just try to connect everything.
Yeah. I must say, like, probably the one thing that I enjoy a lot about writing is that it definitely challenges me creatively. Like, sometimes I'll have it, sometimes I might have a little bit of writer's block, but just trying to stick with it, I think that's probably the ultimate challenge. And I think challenge like that creatively, especially covering hoops, I think it makes everything easier as far as like podcasting and other stuff. So writing is cool, man. It's very challenging at times, but it's always cool at the end of the day, especially when you're telling stories.
Yeah. Write every day, read a little bit every day. Yeah,
Mhm.
I completed my book last year. You got a book in mind you're gonna do in the
Nice.
future?
Man, what's crazy? I don't know if a lot of people know this, man, but like when I was in college, I wrote like three different novels. They never actually came out, but I wrote three different novels. I was like 19, 20, 21 years old at the time. Um, so I would love to publish my own book one day. I don't know if it'll be like nonfiction or fiction or whatever it is, but I would love to do that honestly. Obviously it probably takes time, especially when you're trying to execute every single plan that you have in set and you got to go from one chapter to the next. But I would be down for that. I would be down to do another book and actually like release it.
Yeah, it's so much work. It's honestly just better to dive in and not think about how much work it might be if you really want to do it. But it's so worthwhile, even if it's not for the extrinsic. Like for me, it wasn't about the money. It hasn't been about the money, but it could be about the money in the future. But it was an awesome process to go through. Uh, but I was happy to move on from it too. It took like it was all 2025 that I was working on it.
Yeah, that's normally how it is. Even like when I work on like my certain basketball series that I do, sometimes it does take about a year, 2 years, especially, sometimes I got to go back and I got to make adjustments, fix certain things, or sometimes a plan may not go a certain way. So now you got to pivot and then go in another direction. So it takes time. And that's one thing I always say. That's why I try to tell people to just be patient, especially when they're writing, is because, I think once you have that patience and you really take your time, I think that's where a lot of the magic happens. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's
I
fun at the
think
end of the day.
I think you're gonna do it one day, man. If it's not doing novels, like you're gonna find a niche sometime that you're like, oh, this is something that I know a lot about, but nobody has a book on it, and then you're gonna write that book. So That's what I
You
would
know,
think
you
about.
might be inspiring me tonight, man. You might be inspiring to me tonight or tonight about doing one. I might have some plans to set maybe that I might try to think about tonight after we get done.
What I was saying is that my book wasn't about basketball, but if I found in the future something that I knew a lot about in basketball, but it didn't exist, I would totally make it. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I thought it was gonna be a couple hundred hours, 50,000 words, no problem. But after all the rewrites and the edits and the SEO, but
Mhm.
the point is also too with the internet and with Amazon publishing, you can do it all yourself now. You don't need a big team of
Yeah, that's
editors
true.
or publishers. It's more work from you, but you can do it on your own now if you want to. It's not like how it
Yeah,
is like 15
I
years
think
ago.
that's the thing. I think that's the thing about just being independent writing. Period. It's like like sometimes you don't need publications. Sometimes you can just release everything yourself. But it does take a lot of work, especially a lot of like marketing and promotion and everything. But if you have that business mindset, and, and you have that creative process of to do everything by yourself, I think you can succeed honestly. So it's like you said. I mean, nowadays it's a lot easier to now publish certain content and stuff now instead of just like relying on other people to do it.
Yeah, man, you're like me. You're locked in. You're locked in. That's very
Got to,
cool.
man.
Yeah, yeah. We
I
got
mean, I've been doing this now. I've been writing for a long time, pretty much since I was a kid. So like I understand the process and everything, man. I understand like the ups and the downs of it. So
yeah, yeah. I hear you. I've been trying to write freestyles lately. I'm not gonna record them. I might one day. Who knows? Who knows? Who
who
knows?
knows?
Because I like to produce music, but I don't think I'm gonna be a rapper at some point. But anyways, um, there's one more day of WNBA preseason. What are you thinking about
Sure.
this expansion process overall? We'll do one WNBA thing before we hit NBA. Um, got two new teams this year, two great cities, but it's going to be six
Mhm.
overall by 2030.
Yeah. So right now, this upcoming season, there's now two expansion teams. You have the Portland Fire and you have the Toronto Tempo. And then I know the next couple years we're getting Cleveland, who is now getting a team. Cleveland was one of the original teams of the WNBA, but then their franchise ended up going away, and now it's coming back 20 years later. Um, Detroit's getting their team back as well. As people know, the Detroit Shock were one of the more successful organizations over the 2000s, won three championship rings. But then Philadelphia is also getting a team as well, which I think is really big. Honestly, I mean, I think it's really good to be able to put women's basketball in that city, especially a city like Philadelphia, who is super passionate about sports, and they're going to embrace that team with open arms, honestly. And I'm sure there's plans of other teams as well. Shout out to the Connecticut Sun; they're actually moving to Houston next season. And they're bringing back the Houston Comets again. That's going to be really big for those who know the Houston Comets were one of the more storied franchises of the WNBA. They won the league's first four championships and featured great players like Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson. So finally seeing that franchise come back will be really fun to watch, honestly. And I can't wait to see how they bring that feeling back in Houston, man. Because I think Houston, obviously, since the Comets left, they've been probably looking for more women's basketball in that city, and now they're finally getting it back. So I'm happy about it.
So is there going to be one more city? Are they going to choose one more?
As far as As far as I know, that's it right now. I mean, right now, Portland and Toronto, they
That
are
would be
now beginning
19.
their first seasons. Um, like I said, Philadelphia, Detroit, Cleveland. I think that's it for right now. As far as new teams, I mean, who knows? They'll probably announce other teams as well, like in the near future. I know they've been in talks. They've been trying to get a team in Nashville, I believe, for the longest. So maybe that could be a possibility. And if it does go to Nashville, I think Nashville will be a really great destination for them. I think the one biggest thing for the WNBA is like we have to have more teams in the South. Like right now, the only team in the South really is the Atlanta Dream, and I think that we got to have some teams in Florida again. Like at one point we had the Miami Soul and we had the Orlando Miracle before they ended up moving to Connecticut and becoming the Sun. But more teams in the South would be really good, honestly. So like it's all about like being able to be a part of like or being able to be a part of every region across the country, honestly. So I think that'll be dope, honestly. But we'll see.
You're right, right. So, because I think, what if on the oversaturation part, but you keep calling out good cities that are great basketball cities too. And Nashville needs
Yeah,
more sports teams. That's a great city.
they do.
That's a very supportive
Honestly, I mean,
sports
and look,
city.
even despite everything, because I know LeBron faced a lot of heat for his comments about Memphis and saying that Memphis should move to Nashville. Even aside from that, like, I mean, look, I lived in Nashville for like maybe like a year, 2 years, so I wasn't there for a long amount of time, but just being there in a short amount of time that I was there, like you see the passion that they have for the city. I mean, even the Predators, the hockey team, like they love that team, and they embrace that team. They go all like the city goes all out. I mean, hell, even the Tennessee Titans, like like they go all out for those teams. So having a professional basketball team, especially a women's professional basketball team, especially considering the growth of women's basketball and how it's continued to elevate over the years, that's a great city there. Honestly, that's a great city for them to like be able to really lock in over there. So hopefully they will go to Nashville, but we'll see.
LeBron meant the hotels. And like
Yeah,
and Memphis and Nashville, to me, like being from the Midwest, those might as well be two different countries to me. Honestly, like
right.
those are very, very different cities. They speak different in both places.
They do.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
like
all of Tennessee, honestly, like you can go from one city to the next and it's completely different. The culture is different, everything. Like Tennessee is almost like its own country in a way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's like everything's just different out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. But LeBron, whatever. LeBron's old. Like he's an old guy, and I've been to the hotel in Memphis that they stay at. Well, a number of
Mhm.
times. It's really nice. But I imagine they have to like sometimes they walk to the stadium. I imagine LeBron doesn't, but sometimes the team will just walk there because it's just like right down the street. But
Exactly.
anyways, the Grizzlies are not going to be brought up at any point in this episode, anyways. So let's
Not at
talk
all.
game 7 of the Philadelphia 76ers and Celtics just ended. And I'm pumped to have you here because I feel like there's at least three different things that happened tonight over this crazy first round series that I'm just going to frankly remember forever. Just the overall history between these two franchises, the history of Joel Embiid, in a Game 7 series, the history of teams being down 3-1, and Joel Embiid, I don't know if he's going to be playing next round yet. I don't I don't really
Really?
know after watching the end of that game because he got hit in the knee twice and then he dove for that ball. Um,
Yeah.
and he was Superman this series. I was amazed that he was able to come back and be that good. At the same time, it is Joel Embiid who had one of the best offensive seasons last year before he got hurt. So I don't know. What were your thoughts overall about this Game 7 matchup?
I was very interested, honestly, because once they announced that Jason Tatum was out for this game 7, I was looking at Boston. I was like, okay, like, where did this team go from here? Now, look, this was a team that had to play without Jason Tatum for the majority of the season before he did come back in March. But then they also had to adjust once he came back. Obviously, especially when you have him as an exceptional scorer, you have Jalen Brown as an exceptional scorer. So when I'm looking at Boston, I'm like, okay, can they go back to their play style before Jason Tatum got, or before Jason Tatum ended up coming back? And I mean, you have to figure it out fast. You have to make that adjustment fast, especially considering that this is Game 7. It's really do or die. Honestly, it's either you win, move on, or you go home. But I kind of knew, like, with Tatum being out, Philadelphia kind of had the advantage, and I know that that's crazy to say considering that they're playing this Game 7 on the road. But to me, even before this Tatum situation, like, Boston had plenty of opportunities to close this series, in my opinion, and they just couldn't do it. Game 5, I thought they were going to close the series out. They were up like 7 at halftime. Next thing you know, they collapse in the second half. They take their foot off the gas. Now, next thing you know, Philadelphia forces Game 6. Sixers capitalize off of that. They go back home, game six, dominating that matchup. Like, and then of course now this game seven, it was pretty much like the series was pretty much in their hands up until this point, honestly. And the fact that they were able to capitalize off of it on this game seven was really impressive. I mean, they got off to a really hot start. I thought that their defense was terrific, being able to create turnovers. Being able to really force Boston to some bad offensive possessions. Then, of course, everything took care of itself on the offensive end. I mean, Joel Embiid had a strong performance. Tyrese Maxey with his speed and acceleration, athleticism, being able to just beat the defense and at all three levels. So they just got a great all around production out of everybody, and I think it kind of hurt Boston as well because I mean obviously, look, I give credit to Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown had a really strong performance in this matchup. Of course, we knew that he needed to score at a very high level in this matchup to give Boston a chance. But when you talk about three other starters who played like 7, 8 minutes in this matchup and they didn't even score, like that's kind of a problem, honestly. And I think that especially in these type of games that you have to have all around production out of everybody. So and look, I give credit to the guys like Sam Hauser who I thought was really strong off the bench. Payne Pritchard also had a pretty decent performance, but just overall, like the star firepower of Philadelphia, then alongside like the other role players being able to step up. I mean, that's the reason why they ended up completing this series, coming back from 3-1, and now they're moving on to the second round.
So crazy. I didn't think this series was going to be close. Going into the first round, not knowing the health of Joel Embiid, and I knew that Joel Embiid was going to be a really hard matchup, despite I think Keita having a great year for Boston.
Yeah,
Certainly one of the most improved players in the league. But yeah, Philadelphia came out in control tonight, opened up 9-0, and uh, Joel Embiid, had a great night. Tyrese Maxey is just outplaying everyone down the stretch. And I want to
yeah,
know what this guy's routine is because I got to imagine he's kind of reaching that he's got to be reaching like the physical peak, but like he never seems tired after games. He never seems to be like never seems to be sweating, going at like a full like 100%, like he's going faster than everyone else, but just one of the most impressive athletic athletes I've seen in the league in a long time. And those two buckets he got at the end, especially with Joel Embiid kind of limping at the end, were just huge and just closing out the night. End of a great night. And VJ Edgecombe had a couple of not so great games, but had a great game tonight again as well.
agreed.
And what a crazy rookie class we had this year. I mean, like we had
Insane rookie class. Yeah,
just absolutely insane rookie class, and that is on full display in the playoffs, and I'm loving it. Like I'm seeing so many people that are like, "Who's Colin Murray Boyles?" And I'm like, yeah, like this is so it's just been insane, and I can't believe that next year is going to be well. We all know what's going to happen next year with the rookie class. But yeah, Jalen Brown had a great game. Derek White had a better game, and he certainly
hmm
was shooting that thing. Do you think Joe Mazzulla should have made adjustments down the stretch of this game or this series? Because I mean, they were averaging over 45 threes attempted per game, and they shot 13 of 49 tonight. So clearly that was in their game plan, was the volume of which they shot the ball.
yeah. I mean, that's really what Joe Mazzulla has been. He's the guy. Like, he's gonna stick to the game plan, and like one thing. I mean, when you talk about live or die by the three, Boston lives by that statement. Like they literally live or die by the three. I mean, it even took place last year when they played in the second round against New York. Like even when New York dominating, like and they did shoot the ball well. There was one game where they shot like I think like 15 for 60 from three, which was just absolutely brutal. But they stuck with the game plan. They want to take a high volume amount of 3 pointers. They want to space the floor, and I mean that's always been their game plan. And I understand, especially when you have two exceptional scorers like Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, you want to be able to create space, inside the 3 point line. So you want to spread the floor out so that they can have room to operate inside the 3 point line, whether it's finishing around the basket, whether it's scoring in the mid range, just be able to create and just be able to open up the floor for them. And then of course other great shot creators as well. So that's always been Joe Mazzulla's game plan. So am I shocked by the performance from three? Not necessarily, because that's just pretty much what they always do, honestly. Now, look, I mean, they probably could have taken a lot better shots. Honestly, they probably could have found better quality 3 pointers throughout the game. But it's like I say, I mean, like that's the game plan that he always wants to stick with, and sometimes it works for him, and then sometimes it hurts him.
They certainly had a few good. They had three good attempts in a row at the end of this game to possibly tie or pull ahead, and they just didn't knock down those shots. I had a lot of confidence in this team overall. I looking at the talent level and the luxuries they have. I'm a huge Derek White guy, and Peyton Pritchard is awesome. He's just awesome. Like,
Phenomenal.
um, I know he probably could have been the sixth man over Keldon if he would have not started so many games. But man, like I think every team would like to have a Peyton Pritchard on their team. That sort of spark plug, and I mean, yeah, just very talented team up and down. I'm not going to get into off season or anything at all, but I think healthy Jason Tatum, they're right back in it. Healthy Jason Tatum tonight, they might have won. Yeah. So
They definitely had a high chance of winning. I mean, I don't know if I would guarantee them a win, but they would definitely have a better chance of really being in control. Because I feel like, to me, like once Philly went up 9-0, like that was kind of it. Like it just seemed like, I mean, yes, Boston found ways to creep back into the game and keep it competitive, but it just felt like it was Philly's game from the beginning, and they just never slowed down after that.
right, right, and this Philly team has proved me wrong. It certainly is.
Yeah.
So
They shocked me because I had a lot of questions for them heading into this season, honestly, and I did not expect them to, be in this position of where they got Boston on the ropes and getting to the second round. So this is a big win for them. I'm really really impressed by them.
I don't have the updated numbers, but I think Paul George was shooting 53% from three heading into tonight. And well, if you have that asset on your team, like Paul George playing at a level where, frankly, we know he could still play at, and
Right.
if he's buying into this sort of offense as well, and I think I think the team chemistry is there. Nick Nurse might be underrated. That might be more of an ESPN topic, but I don't know. I think he might be more of an underrated coach. You know,
Think he is, yeah. I mean, Nick Nurse has proven to win. And I think that's one thing that we have seen over. I mean, not even just in Toronto. And I mean, you talk about since taking over Philly, honestly. I mean, with all the questions, with everything that he's had to go through, all the challenges that he's facing, the adjustments, whether it's not having a beat in the starting lineup due to injury, or even Paul George missing 25 games, due to the suspension. Like for somehow, some way, Nick Nurse has always been able to work with what he has, and he's been able to really expand the players like Tyrese Maxey, like VJ Edgecombe, and like the other players. So I give him a lot of credit, honestly. Like I feel like if Philly had another coach besides Nick Nurse, I don't see them getting out of this first round. Like I think that he adjusted really well. Even in the series on, I mean, we saw the adjustments that he made defensively to really slow down Boston in their half court offense to really, find ways to, contest shots. And I think he's done a really good job since he got in Philly. But he's proven to be one of the best coaches in the league, if you ask me.
I think so. And we don't know who they're playing next round, right? But that's the Cleveland Toronto
They're
series.
playing. No, they're playing New York next
Oh,
round.
that's right. I have my numbers mixed up.
In New York.
They are playing New York next round. I'll tell you what, let's keep going. We're gonna talk about game sevens that happened last night, and we'll cycle back since we know the outcome, since we know Philly moved on. Next one, um, I was really high on the Pistons heading into the playoffs. I mean, why not? First place team. have had an historic couple of years, from the losing streak 2 years ago to their winning streak last year to being a first place team with an emerging superstar, Cade Cunningham, who certainly has to be one of the favorite players among players around the league, I think. Um, and overall, the Magic on the other end, I had high expectations for heading into the season, and
Mhm.
especially post All-Star break. I give them some leeway given their health of the team, but has just been disappointing over and over again. But give a lot of credit to Orlando's defense. 10.2 steals per game over these 6 games, and certainly put Detroit in a different sort of situation for most of this series. Paolo Banchero has been having a great series, so being led by their superstar player. Desmond Bane's been very, very efficient on that end. But overall, um, I'm just kind of disappointed in both of these teams' offenses overall, despite it kind of being a fun series. So, uh, what's been your feeling on this series heading into Game 7, which will be tomorrow afternoon?
This is probably one of the weirdest series I may have ever watched, honestly, because it's like you said, like Detroit, they've been holding it down as the top team of the Eastern Conference. They had high expectations, heading into this postseason, especially even with Kate Cunningham missing a little bit of time due to the blood clots. And then obviously once he comes back, now that elevates the expectation for a young team like Detroit. But you talk about Orlando as well. Like Orlando had high expectations coming into this season, especially led by the likes of Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and others. And luckily they were able to get into the playoffs, but for the most part, they didn't really meet up to the expectations that were really placed on them. Because I mean, when we look at the talent that Orlando has, we expect them to be possibly top four, possibly top five, and they just didn't meet up to those expectations. Now, look, granted, they were able to take care of business in the playing tournament, which is why they were in position to get to land the A seed. But even as they got the A seed, I'm thinking to myself like, okay, this is a very talented team, but with how well Detroit has been playing, with how consistent that they have been, I'm expecting the Pistons to possibly win in six. Now, I'll be honest, you know, Orlando goes on the road, wins game one. Okay, I'm like, okay, cool. Then Detroit ends up responding, winning game two. I feel like games three and four were very interesting to me, and I feel like it really showed me a lot, honestly, because when you look at games three and four, Orlando was just all around better. Like offensively, they were fluid, moving the ball really well, finding quality shots. Defensively, they were locked in, being able to protect the basket, being able to really limit their shot creation. On the defensive side, like Orlando was just flat out playing way better than Detroit, if you ask me. And just with the way that they were just competing and just how the way that they were hustling, I'm like, okay, this is really insane to me because it looked like Orlando could possibly win in five, honestly, just by the way that they were competing in games three and four. Now, I do give credit to the Pistons for being able to respond in game five. I mean, obviously, that was a really great matchup, the duel between Paolo and Kate Cunningham. Give credit to Kate Cunningham for hitting that clutch shot down the stretch. Um, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, finally, the Pistons find a way to keep themselves alive. Game six happens. Orlando is up 22 at halftime. You know what's crazy? I didn't even watch the game live. I was actually, it's funny. I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet on the timeline that says Orlando is up 22 at halftime. And I think at the time I saw the tweet, I think it had been like probably like 45 minutes had passed by since they tweeted that. So I'm like, okay, cool. So now I go to the NBA app and I check to see, what the final score could possibly be. I'm expecting Orlando to have won this series and go on to the next round. Next thing you know, I look at the score, the Pistons won by 14, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, is this accurate? Like, Orlando only scored 19 points in the second half total after scoring 60 in the first half. Like, I was very confused by it, but then I went back and I watched the game. Somehow, Orlando, like, the energy was just gone in the second half. It was just flat out gone. They couldn't make a shot. They couldn't put anything in the basket. And Detroit capitalized off of that. And I will give them credit because I think defensively they were able to make adjustments as well, and they were able to capitalize off of it. I mean, you talk about strong performance, obviously from Cade, obviously from Tobias Harris, other guys, but I'll be real. Like, I really feel like Orlando really missed that opportunity to close the series on their home floor. Like, okay, cool. You guys ended up losing game five in Detroit. Now this is an opportunity for you guys to close the series on your home floor, especially considering that you guys were dominating in the first half and you guys scored 60 points total in the first half, up 22 at halftime. The fact that they weren't able to, I still think that they have a chance at winning game seven, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do so, especially being in Detroit, honestly. And it's crazy to say that Detroit actually has a chance of actually still winning the series. I know that sounds crazy considering that they're the one seed, but the way that Orlando was just outplaying them throughout the first four games, like it really looked like they were about to get out of here in five games. So now we're at a point now where we're saying that they could potentially win game seven. So this has been a very interesting series to me. Like I don't really know if I could say that it's been great, but it's been very, very weird to me if you ask me.
And it's been very, very strange. Uh, and yeah, I mean the it's 3-3, and one
Hmm.
team has offensive rating at 98 and the other one has offensive rating of 100. And uh, it's just I think the struggles with Detroit in their half court is a concern I had going into the playoffs, and that's what we have seen. Um, and then there's been parts of the Detroit where I'm just kind of like throwing my hands up or just kind of scratching my head, going, "What's going on?" And a lot of that starting and ending with Jalen Duren. People, podcast media have been talking about him at length lately. It's a big concern, just the amount of
Yeah.
shots that he's attempting. I don't see why they're not just telling him, we just need you to attempt 4 shots every quarter. Like we just need you to try like generating something. And then it got kind of strange because, we had games where our Thompson played well. Isaiah Stewart had 8 blocks in a game, and we
Right.
saw that there was a lot of um, that front court rotation might have looked better without him on the floors there. So it's just been a very, very strange. Detroit's been better on the interior as expected, but Orlando's just been kind of killing them on their perimeter defense,
Yeah.
which if I think Orlando is also in a better situation going into Game 7 because I think they have less to lose. But I don't know if teams ever look at it that way. But they were the underdogs. They weren't even maybe supposed to be in the playoffs. So the fact that the other team's the one seed, I think there's a lot more pressure on that end. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I mean, I think you made a valid point when you talk about Orlando being the underdogs because I think that's one thing that I will give them credit for is that even when they are the underdogs and they are, like not looked upon as far as like winning, like they always respond and they always challenge opposing teams. Like I mean, you can even go back 2 years ago when they faced Cleveland in the first round and they pushed that series to 7 games. Like even with Donovan Mitchell dropping 50 in a game six wasn't even enough. Like Orlando is really good. Like even though they do have their inconsistencies, they're really good at challenging teams. Honestly, so this could be in their favor. Honestly, I mean, obviously they have probably a little bit more playoff experience combined than the Pistons do, but they've shown to be able to respond in really big moments. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard like Hoop Collective they bring up this point. I think I think talent wise, I think they're pretty much even. Honestly. Like if you look at their top players, Cade Cunningham, Paul Banchero, pretty even. But then if you look
Yeah,
at who's the second most talented, like even if you said, okay, Cade Cunningham's a better player, I mean, then you have like Desmond Bain on Orlando's side.
exactly.
I think these are two very young, talented teams. And I think a positive way to close this out for me would just be to say it's come down to effort, I think mostly. And that's why I thought Detroit would have a short series with this, is that they would play a lot better, shoot a lot better, and just show a lot more effort. But Orlando, I give credit to their defense. So we don't know who they're playing in the next round. Let's talk about that game seven now then. Um, Tomorrow night then are the Cavaliers and the Raptors, and I I frankly wish that this series could go 11 games. I can't get enough of these like this like Raptors team, this Raptors basketball, this Raptors culture you got going on. And the Cavaliers are a very good, very talented, probably the more talented team. But Scotty Barnes might be the best player in this entire series for
Agree.
Toronto. And I love hearing the narratives around him. Like, is he that star or superstar player? He's someone that I've had my eye on for a long time, and I think this is the level that he can play at. 24 points, almost double double, 24 points, 9 assists. RJ Barrett's had a great series for Toronto. Brandon Ingram, I'm not sure about the health of him, but he was really struggling this series. But despite all of that, Toronto was able to take this kind of new look Cleveland team to 7 games. And I just think it's been very, very fun. What are your thoughts heading into this game seven tomorrow night?
It's very funny because if this was like the first two games, then I would not even think that Toronto would be good enough to make adjustments and even force a game seven. Now that we are here, where game seven is played tomorrow night, I actually have I actually have a lot of confidence that they'll probably win this game, honestly. I know it's gonna be tough. I know it's gonna be on the road, and I know that. And look, I mean, this is not me discrediting Cleveland, because I definitely believe that they'll have a chance, especially when you're led by the likes of Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, James Harden, and other players, even Max Strus. But I don't know, man. It just seems like Toronto has just found like a different gear since game three. Just being able to make adjustments, just playing with more energy. I mean, you talked about like Scotty Barnes has by far been the best player all around in this series, and there's so many times where Cleveland just does not have an answer for him because he's just super versatile. I mean, he's showing obviously he's controlling the paint, but then also being able to step outside, be able to knock down the perimeter shot as well. And once he adds that to his game, it's really hard for Cleveland to contain him. I mean, you talk about game six, like 25.7 rebounds, 14 assists, like just finding ways to control the game from every perspective. And I think that was very important. And obviously they needed all of his effort in order for Toronto to win that game six. And of course, you talk about other players as well. Like Brandon Ingram struggled throughout the first couple games, and luckily he was able to find his rhythm. You talk about other guys as well. Like, I mean, RJ Barrett had a strong performance. I mean, 24 and 9, and then of course being able to hit that game winning shot. Like, that was big, honestly. And I just feel like Toronto has just found a different energy that's allowed them to just find a way to like find ways to make the series really competitive, honestly. And if you ask me, I think they really have a good shot at winning game seven, but we'll see.
Whoever wins game seven, I predict is the team that's knocking down their shots. It's been a very high scoring series, which I expected. Surprisingly, we've had people on both ends have very efficient series, but overall, for both teams on games where they lose, sometimes they're just shooting the ball very, very badly. But right, like players like Jared Allen, who of course is a big rim presence, but he's shooting 66%. On the other end, Colin Murray Boyles is shooting 66%, averaging 15 and a half points this series. So I I'm very excited to see what this Toronto team does after this season because they just have players and defenders top to bottom that I think not a lot of people are paying attention to. I don't know if that's the nature of the
No.
Toronto Raptors team, but I think they're going to be paying attention to them pretty soon. Uh, yeah, Evan Mobley, decent series. Uh, I think it just comes down to who makes their shots, and as we mentioned, we don't know who either would play next round. Uh, Anything else about this series?
Um, Nothing else comes to mind, man. I mean, it's been very interesting, but I must say, like, if you're Cleveland, you got to find a way to get production out of everybody. Everybody has to be at their best from top to bottom. Like Donovan Mitchell has to be at his best. James Harden has to be at his best. Evan Mobley, I mean, you talked about it, he's had a decent series, and I know that he had a pretty solid game 6. But how do you translate that into a do or die game 7 on your home floor? Like Evan Mobley might be like one of the bigger keys to them winning, honestly, especially with his post presence and how he's supposed to really dominate the inside, whether it's his rebound or whether it's his finishing. Like he's gonna definitely have to be at his best, honestly, if they are gonna win. But just overall, like Cleveland from top to bottom has to be at their best if they're gonna win this game.
Yeah, yeah. We know Evan Mobley's offensive impact is where we have the questions.
Right.
Like we
Mm-hmm.
both me and you are big Evan Mobley fans, and we're not worried about the defense. The
Right.
the
Never.
offense has questions, and that's usually what we see for players in their second year, especially ones that have so much of a defensive anchor, defensive focus. So yeah, I have no predictions on this one. I just know that if I could extend the series more, I would watch more from both of these teams. Uh, so next one then, going back in time, Timberwolves eliminated the Nuggets. We're just doing a whole series of how Harrison was wrong on things this episode because I wasn't I wasn't expecting Denver, Orlando to go the way it was, and I just wasn't expecting the Timberwolves to have such a big impact. A lot of times, beginning and ending with Rudy Gobert, and also the impact with all of the injuries that they have had, and it's just been a fun series that reminds me a lot of their first round series of last year, which makes me think, perhaps I need to stop relying so much on like the eye test or something. I don't know. Or maybe just stop watching basketball altogether because I seem to be wrong about a lot of things. I thought Denver, with how they closed out at home this season, breaking a record for their home record. I thought
Tennis, or it's whatever.
right. I thought they were going to have the edge this series, but overall, Rudy Gobert has just had a Hall of Fame series. Uh, Jaden McDaniels had a terrific performance in Game 6, 32 points. Just two-way takeover from him. And just overall in game 6, they were plus 17 in rebounds and plus 6 in turnovers, which ultimately led to their 12-point victory. And I think the Timberwolves are, I don't know. It depends on the health, but I'll pass it to you. What do you think about game 6 and Timberwolves winning this series?
I'm actually very shocked, and I'll piggyback to the start of the series. When it was announced that they would be facing each other, I really didn't know what to expect out of this series. Yes, I know Denver is the higher seed. And yes, they probably had that advantage, and they were probably more likely the favorite to win this series, which obviously, they had a really strong season, led by the likes of Nikola Jokic, one of the best players in the game. So, of course, they were going to have that advantage. But I also was not going to discredit the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, you talk about a team who has been able to breach the Western Conference Finals each year over the years, honestly. I mean, they've shown that they know how to come around, especially in playoff situations. And even with all the injuries that they had, I mean, Anthony Edwards goes down, Dante DiVincenzo goes down. Uh, give credit to Ayo Dosunmu for his
Mhm.
spectacular game four. Like flat out, just insane. Like you talk about a guy that's willing, that's ready to step up and just be able to master the moment. Like he did that, and then of course obviously he ended up going down with an injury as well. So when you look at how Minnesota for a good part is depleted, honestly, I mean they're missing a lot of key players and they're missing their best player. Throughout the rest of the series. Like Denver has to take advantage. They have to be able to find a way to close this series, honestly. I mean, they dominated game five, give credit to them. But just being able to watch game six and just watching how Minnesota just played with way more energy than them. And like I said, I mean, this is a depleted Minnesota team. And to be honest, like I don't know what expectations were placed on them after they lost a lot of key players. Honestly, I mean, yes, they still got players like Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, but we didn't really know what to expect out of them and how they were able to compete against the likes of like Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and others. But I mean, you talked about. I mean, Jaden McDaniels was just the way that he was just able to dominate that matchup was just really fun to watch. Honestly, and Denver really had no answer if you ask me on the defensive end.
Yeah,
And
and
I mean that's the reason. And I mean and that's the reason why they're out of the first round. Honestly, I just think Denver just I don't think Denver was fully prepared for what Minnesota had to offer in this series, and I think that it really came down to coaching. Honestly, um, like I said, I mean, I just don't think Denver was fully prepared, and I think that's why Minnesota was able to take control of the series. Honestly, so I give a lot of credit to them. I think their next round against San Antonio is going to get very interesting, if you ask me. And even with Minnesota being injured, being depleted, that series could still go either way as well. I mean, I know that San Antonio is probably going to be the favorite. They're the higher seed, and they feature one of the top players in the game, Victor Wembanyama. But who knows? That series could go in a very different direction than what a lot of people would expect. So we'll see.
I just keep thinking back to the first video I ever saw of Wembanyama is the one where he's playing one on one against Gobert at like 16. And um
Mm,
and I think at first Gobert wasn't being serious, but then Wimby, 16-year-old Wimby hits a few shots, and then you kind of see that switch go off. Like, all right, but yeah, like shout out to France, I guess. Because yeah, I mean if you also include Joel Embiid as a French citizen, if you include that as
right.
well, I mean they're just dominating the front court in these NBA playoffs. That's gonna be very fun series. And it's interesting with Jokic because I think he's the only player who I think can do that. Jokic struggled the series. I mean, went
He did.
7 of 26 in game three, went eight for 20 in game two. But I I heard from multiple outlets after game five that said Joel Embiid, I'm sorry, Jokic had a better night tonight. He had 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 16 assists. And I think that's the only player in the league right now where you could say, oh, yeah, he had a better game. He had 27, 12, and 16. I just, I think that is kind of ridiculous. And in game six, it's like they, Gobert was able to contain him enough, and Denver wasn't able to knock down enough shots in that game. And Minnesota just had a lot of players step up. Shout out Terrence Shannon. Um,
Yeah.
zero turnovers in that game, 24 points, and just overall the rebounding gap throughout these playoffs just really sealed it for Minnesota. And yeah, you got to give you have to give the edge to the Spurs right now. And um, Edwards is going to start out. We know Dante DiVincenzo is of course out, and the Sunmu, last I checked yesterday, is uncertain. But they still got an eight-man rotation to put out there. They still got eight
Right.
guys they can put out there. So I think they have enough experience to really make it interesting. And the Spurs series, last series, I don't know. Yeah, I had to give the edge to the Spurs, but if you're Minnesota, what's the game plan going in if you're thinking like how do we realistically win this series or extend it enough so that Anthony Edwards could possibly come back?
Um, I think one of the bigger things, especially for the Spurs, like the Spurs are a really great transition team. I mean, of course, we all know that the dominance of Victor Wembanyama is going to help them win that series. I mean, just off of that alone. But I think the Spurs, they love to play at a very fast pace. Honestly, not saying that they're not good in half court sets, which I mean they are phenomenal in their half court sets, especially with their ball movement and the way that they're able to, create off of attack and driving lanes, or even playing the pick and roll, pick and pop. So they're super versatile on the offensive end that really disrupts a lot of team defenses, but they are also really good when they're in transition and they're out on the open floor. So I feel like Minnesota's transition defense is really going to be huge in this matchup if they are going to be able to contend with them and be able to create stops. Because I feel like once you're able to slow down San Antonio, it does force them to adjust, and then also, sometimes it may take them out of their offensive rhythms. Who knows, honestly. So, yes, the Spurs do have that advantage, obviously, because they are for the most part fully healthy, and of course, they feature one of the top players in the NBA. But I mean, you talk about Jaden McDaniels. I mean, 32 points in that game six. Like, they're gonna need his offensive showing more than ever, honestly. Especially when you're matching up against, a team like San Antonio, who is a really good defensive team. But then also other players as well. Like, I mean, they're gonna need great production out of Rudy Gobert. They're gonna need great production out of Julius Randle. I mean, talk about other guys as well, like Terrence Shannon Jr. Can he come? Can he, be another guy that can really help provide a spark for that team? So it's going to be a great all around team effort, if you ask me. I mean, obviously San Antonio, like I would still pick them to come out of this series, but I still don't want to. I still don't want to count on Minnesota, honestly, because like yes, I know that they're injured and I know that they're missing some key players, but to me, I still feel like they can have a chance at making this series very interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're gonna have to play really good. I want to say perfect, but I imagine we're going to see similar rotations. I mean, they just don't have that many players to play right now. But I imagine we will see the similar front court or like the bigger three like players of like the Gobert, Randall, Reed rotation, which worked for Denver. But the Spurs, I think, just have better spacing and you're
Yeah,
100% in the transition offense, just they have to be able to lock down there. And then like same thing with defense. Terrence Shannon has had great games, but if you're worried about uh, the overall pace or you're worried about rim pressure, I'm a little bit more worried about these Minnesota rotations with
right.
with any of these players. Like I'd feel better if Anthony Edwards was out there, of course. I wish he was, but um,
Same.
I I don't I don't think it's gonna be a sweep. You know, I think either team is gonna win a couple of games. Very fascinating matchup. Let's talk then about the Knicks eliminating the Hawks. And wow, what a flip flopping fan bases! Like we had a couple of days where Atlanta Hawks fans are feeling really good. They're up 2-1, and Knicks fans are being pulled negative again, and now Knicks fans are up, like they are up on top of the world. They're telling people they're gonna win the whole championship. I did have the Knicks coming out of the East uh, at the beginning of the season. That was my prediction. Jason Tatum was gone. Tyrese Halliburton was gone. They got Mike Brown, and if they're gonna do it, they gotta do it this. They gotta do it this season. And frankly, I was like, if the Knicks get knocked out in round one, I don't know if Mike Brown comes back next season because I think they're going to have to point the finger at somebody and say what happened or how do we actually raise this ceiling? The question's still out there. Overall, in game six, OG Anunoby had a fantastic game, 29 points, 4 steals. Mikal Bridges, 10 of 12 for 24 points. Karl Anthony Towns had one of the most memorable triple doubles. He was one of two from the field and ended with 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. So he got a triple double on one made field goal, which I think is pretty crazy. Hawks shot horribly, had 19 turnovers, minus 52 in their net rating, and I did not turn on this game at all. Did you watch any of this game?
You did. I so it's weird. I was at the gym at the start of the game, and then I just happened to walk past one of the TVs. And then when I walked past one of the TVs, it was the second quarter, and I saw the score. It was New York 57, Atlanta 19. And I'm looking, I'm like, there's no way this is a real score. Not in the playoffs, not in like an elimination game for the Atlanta Hawks, who are at home and who need to play with the most energy. But that was the reality. They were getting beat. And like I'll be real, like it just seemed like it just got worse from then on, honestly. Like it's crazy to think because they were up early in this matchup. Like they were up like 9-5, I believe. And I don't know what happened, honestly, man. It just seemed like New York just took the life out of them. Like they really just look lifeless out there. Like they look like they didn't want to compete. Like they got discouraged once the league got big. And I think that's one of the issues for the Hawks, honestly. And I think that we've seen that throughout the season is that yeah, they're a young team. They're very talented. Obviously, with the likes of Jalen Johnson. I love the Kaminga pickup. I thought that he was really good for them as well. Like, so they have a really young, a really young fun team. I mean, Dyson Daniels as well, one of the league's premier perimeter defenders. But always seemed like whenever the Hawks did not have control of the game and the opposing team, had momentum, they just got kind of discouraged and they never found a way to get themselves back into games. And this is another indication of that as well. Like I mean, once they were down like just about at 50 at halftime, I mean, obviously the game's over, but like to me, like just all the fight and all the life was just taken out of them, honestly. And it sucks at the end of the day because I thought that they played really decent throughout the first like 3-4 games. I mean, you talked about it. I mean, they went up 2-1 in the series. They were confident, they were pumping their chest and everything. Like they believed they had a chance of winning the series. And I want to say they were even up double digits in Game 4 as well. I want to say at one point. I might have the games mixed up, but yeah, I mean, once New York took over in Game 5, or excuse me, Game 4, then of course that translated to Game 5 winning at home, and then of course this dominant Game 6. I mean, I'll be real. I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to the Knicks because like the way that they were able to adjust and the way that they were able to compete on the defensive end was really big. I mean, we talked about OG Anunoby, having a strong performance with 29 points in Game 6. I got to give a lot of credit to Carl Anthony Towns as well, who had a really great series. If you ask me, just being able to, impact the game from multiple perspectives, whether it's scoring, whether it's playmaking, whether it's the rebounding, controlling the glass, be able to protect the basket. Like that's what you need from one of your best players, especially in these playoff situations. And I thought Carl Anthony Towns had really good moments in this matchup. Obviously, Jalen Brunson the same way, and then of course other players off the bench as well. I thought Deuce McBride had pretty good moments, like off the bench. So I'll be real, man. I just New York. I just think all it was just all around better. Honestly, I mean, even with them being out 2-1, they found a way to respond, and that's why they're going into the next round.
Yeah. The bottom line, they have to be telling Karl Anthony Towns in that series, there's no answer for you on the other end. And then moving forward, even though Jalen Brunson's our guy, he's driving the boat, he's driving the ship, whatever it is, um, to compete with the top teams, you have to be that guy. Uh,
Yep,
so, uh, I think he gets discredited way too much. He had a fantastic series. And the reality with the Hawks is, I think we saw what the Hawks are at this point. And I know they got blown out, but I think there is some positivities there. Now, how do you raise your ceiling with this team depends on what happens in the draft and then what you decide to do with CJ. That's to be decided in the draft coming up. But I mean, I am so impressed with this Hawks team post Trey
agree.
Young trade. And Jalen Johnson this season has been just a delight to watch. So I'm very happy they are heading in this sort of direction. I think they got too discouraged. I think they got maybe too ISO heavy. They just kind of gave up. And they should have been the underdogs in this series. They certainly had a chance to win it, especially after game 3, but yeah, it was really rough. So we now know then that the Knicks will be taking on the Sixers, and I would just say it would be hard for me to make predictions because I want to know, is Joel Embiid going to play game 1? I just
That's
I don't know.
true.
He was talking after the game, but and he walked off, but he was certainly limping a lot. So I I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, you could definitely tell that he
Yeah,
was hurt by the end of the game.
yeah. I think it's a better matchup I think this is certainly a better matchup than either of the first round series we saw for these teams. And
Right.
uh, Philadelphia at full strength, yes, is going to be harder to contain. And I think New York will have to make adjustments there. I fully expect Tyrese Maxey to dominate this series like he dominated the first round series. And I have a hard time giving. Do you have an edge for either of these teams going into round 2?
If there's a game plan for New York, I mean, I think probably one of the bigger ones is how do you slow down Tyrese Maxey, especially when he's, getting downhill and he's attacking the inside. I mean, of course, we all know that Tyrese Maxey can impact the game at all three levels offensively, but to me, I really feel like he's really at his best whenever he is attacking drive lanes off ball screens, whenever he is attacking downhill and finding ways to create high percentage opportunities around the basket. So how do you stop that speed and acceleration? I'm sure Mike Brown's gonna throw like a lot of different adjustments at him. I'm sure that he's gonna throw a lot of different bodies at him. Um, and look, I mean, if Embiid is healthy, then of course Embiid is another cover that you got to figure out. But to me, I think Tyrese Maxey can either make or break this series for honestly. So I mean, he's one that I'm looking at in particular that has to be at his best, which I am expecting him to be at his best. And if he's able to impact the game and really control the game from every perspective, Philly has a really good chance of winning, honestly. I'm probably going to still pick New York to win because I feel like they have the all-around better team, especially when they are healthy. But who knows? I mean, I'm not going to count Philly out, honestly. I think that they really do have a shot at winning this series.
I swear to God, if this is the season where they put it all together, it's gonna be weird. just the
It is going to
history,
be
just the history of the trust, the process, and I, I fully expected them to just not match up with Boston well in round 1,
no,
and
not at all.
outside of maybe like Toronto making a run, this would be the most surprising to me. But I seriously think they have a very good shot to beat this New York team just at the level they're playing. I mean, if you got Paul George playing this well, and then you have players like Edgecombe that can give you 20 points on most of these nights, then man, it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait.
I
Um,
agree.
we're gonna do a little bit quicker now since we are further in the future. But Lakers, Thunder, next round. I kind of just put it all together. We can do Lakers first. Lakers beat the Rockets 4-2. Uh, thought it was gonna be a sweep. Ended up being 6 games. LeBron had a really bad game 4, and did ended up having a decent game 5 and a very nice uh, game 6, which he had. Well, he averaged 23, 8, and 8 for the series. And Austin Reeves did come back, but and scored decently, but was pretty inefficient. I don't think he really swung that series either way, but certainly looking towards him in the next round if they have any shot whatsoever against this Thunder team, because I think it's over. I certainly think it's been fun, but it is over for this Lakers team. I didn't want to even think about the media cycle that would have happened if LeBron was the first to lose a 3-0 series. And I made a video last week saying that even with Luca and Austin Reeves being out, with the uncertainty of the Rockets this whole season, without having Fred Van Vliet, and then of course having Kevin Durant injured, it's been a struggle throughout the season. Not the Kevin Durant injury, but um, I would have still given maybe a slight edge to the Lakers. What I'm trying to say is that it didn't show me too much about LeBron's legacy beyond that he just had a really nice first round. So, um, right, what did you think about the Lakers Rockets? And then, do Lakers have any chance whatsoever with the Thunder?
Yeah. So you know what's crazy? So I think a lot of people lost a lot of hope in the Lakers, especially after you lose two key players like Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. But once it was announced that they were facing Houston, and this is really before I knew that Kevin Durant was going to miss the majority of the series due to injury. I still gave the Lakers a chance for some reason because I mean, yes, when you look at it, like Houston, even though they don't have Fred VanVleet, they still got key players. Like you talk about Alfred Sengun, you got Kevin Durant, you got Amin Thompson. So you have a lot of your key players that you need to be able to win this series. But to me, like the Rockets have the Rockets have struggled with consistency all season long, and I think that's one of the bigger things that we've seen throughout the season is that they are talented, and yes, they can compete with a lot of the top contenders in the NBA, but they have a consistency problem, and I feel like that consistency problem was going to play a huge role in this Lakers series. Lakers get out to the hot start, win the first two games, and the Lakers were really getting great production out of a lot of players. I mean, obviously LeBron was really strong in this series, but then you talk about like a guy like Luke Kennard who was making just about everything, especially throughout the first two games of the series. I thought Rui Hachimura had some really good moments, especially scoring the ball, but then also having some defensive moments. Marcus Smart bringing that physicality on the perimeter, being able to force turnovers, and then of course has some pretty strong performances offensively. I think the biggest thing was for the Lakers is that okay, cool. Like you do lose game four. Now the series goes back to LA for game five. But to me, game five, they should have found a way to close that series out, honestly. I just feel like they didn't play they just didn't match the energy of the Rockets. Like obviously the Rockets they were playing with sense of urgency because they wanted to keep their season alive. They do have to find a way to close that game on your home floor. Now look, give credit to this team and for being able to dominate this game six. I do love how the game really slowed down for Braun, honestly, especially in this game six. Like Braun kind of went more to the post, you know what I'm saying, like was more reserved in this matchup, but just finding ways to dominate with his size and his ability to just, score inside, honestly. So I'll be real, I mean, I give a lot of credit to the Lakers for being able to control this series and obviously win in six games. Now, do I give them a shot against Oklahoma City? I really don't, honestly. I have OKC winning the series in five games. And that's even with Austin Reeves being back. I'm sure Austin Reeves will be a little bit better in this next series, especially once he gets his legs underneath him. But with the way that OKC dominated Phoenix in the first round, I mean, I'll just be honest. I don't know if anybody's really slowing them down right now. And the Lakers will make things interesting throughout the series, but I'm gonna still pick OKC to win in five.
It's gonna be 10 days, I think. I think it's gonna be.
Much.
I think it's 10 days that the Thunder will have off, and the Lakers. I guess. I mean, they do get a few days off, but yeah. I mean, I enjoy being critical about the Lakers. I think they deserve to be critical. I mean, you got the stars. You're in the coastal city. You got the most money,
Right.
whatever. But I will give a lot of credit to JJ Redick for this series, who have also been very critical about. I think he made the right defensive rotations, and I think this team showed a lot of effort. Even LeBron at times showed effort on defense. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that was a big key for them, and yeah, there was a slight worry because the Rockets should have won game three. They should have won game three. They were up six with 28 seconds to go. And then after game five, I'm like, this could easily be 3-2 flipped the other way, flipped in the Rockets' direction. So I knew the Lakers had to close it out, uh, and if they were gonna close it out, I'm happy they did it in 6 games because I was kind of ready to move on. You mentioned it already. Thunder were plus 17 net rating against the Phoenix Suns. Similar to the Hawks on the other side in the other conference, I think Jalen Green showed a lot of improvement and had
He did.
a very nice play-in postseason. But same thing there. It's like I don't know how you raise the ceiling of that Suns team. And just, 30 seconds of Suns talk tonight. I just don't know what they do. They need to get better in their front court. And I'm worried between having Dylan Brooks make huge improvements on offense, just so impressed by him. Jalen Green, Devin Booker, very, very talented, but it's in this gauntlet Western Conference, which is absolutely crazy right now. So I don't know what that team does.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, honestly. I don't have an answer to pinpoint on either. On you think about it.
And we'll do the last series and then we're done. We've done every team in round one. We talked already about we already talked about Spurs and Timberwolves, but last one was Spurs beat Trailblazers 4-1. You know, De'Aaron Fox had a decent series. Steph Castle is certainly emerging on both ends. And for the Trailblazers, they had a chance at some point this series. Won one of the games, but shot horribly from three. And led by Denny Avdia, I guess we're kind of done. I guess we kind of touched on both teams.
Yeah.
But also don't really know where the Trailblazers go from here. Haven't looked at any of the draft picks or anything. I think they have one, but um,
I mean, I will say this though, like I give a lot of credit to Tiago Splitter, and I thought that he did one hell of a coaching job this year in Portland, honestly. Because I mean, I'll be real, I don't know how high the expectations were in Portland, especially considering that you lose Chauncey Billups, with his situation that he has going on, and now you have this new interim head coach or whatever you want to call him, being able to step into this situation, and then of course not even like not only like turn that team around, but just make them a playoff contender. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to them, honestly. I mean, they had a really great season, a really great plan. And even that game 2 win against San Antonio was really impressive if you ask me. Like whenever Wemby went down with the concussion protocol, I was thinking to myself like Portland might have a chance to make this thing very interesting. Now, obviously, they ended up losing the rest of the series, and I thought Game 4 was a really bad loss for them as well, especially considering that Scoot Henderson went scoreless in that matchup. But I really like the future of what Portland looks like, honestly, because I really think that with the young assets that they do have, and of course, I mean the veterans. So, I mean, you talk about Drew Holiday, a key veteran for that team. I mean, just his presence alone, really helped that team go. But when you look at like Portland and where they are now, like the future can be really bright for them. So I'm excited.
all right. It's funny. I was thinking about this series. It was always going back to past Celtics players. And I was like, oh, like when Robert Williams is playing well,
Hmm.
he's like the most entertaining basketball player to watch when Robert Williams is playing well. So I was like, oh, Robert Williams or Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart. Like it was just all of these past
For the Celtics,
defensive
yeah.
minded Boston players. So, right, we'll see if Thiago gets the job offer. I think a lot of people in media are certainly pushing for that, saying that he certainly deserves it. And I can't imagine taking on that sort of situation with everything that happened inside that
Right.
organization this year. So, right, with Damian Lillard coming back, timeline. It's a serious timeline franchise right now, and timelines, I think it's what it's all about. Same thing with like the Houston Rockets. So cool. We did really well. We talked about
Really good.
every team like an
Great
hour.
episode, man.
So so cool, cool. Will, will you come back on sometime and do a Tyler the Creator episode with me?
Let's do it,
Let's
man.
do
We
it.
can do it. We can talk music, basketball. Like,
Let's do
I'm
it.
down for it all.
Let's do it.
I mean,
At
I'll be real. That is something that I've wanted to have with somebody because I know, there's like I don't know if you want to like break Tyler's career up into like different parts, but there's people who have been around since the beginning. Then people came around like in the middle of his career. Then more recently, probably over the past like maybe 3 4 years. So that would be something very interesting to talk about.
Well, I think you're like me. I was in, I mean, 2010, I'm a sophomore in college, and it's the Tumblr days. I mean, this is like
Hmm.
right before the YouTube. This is Tyler on Tumblr saying my video French got 10,000 views. Like it's going back to that.
That time,
And
yeah,
especially after this last album he had and the trajectory, I thought, man, I really need to do some like a podcast or like something going over his career because you can break it up like into like two separate parts and have
yeah,
like two different Hall of Fame careers from there. So we'll do it. We'll set it up. We'll set it up sometime for off season. Off season, we'll do it.
definitely. Let's
All
do
right.
it. I'm down for it.
Cool. Thank you, Nick. Follow his links down below. And Nick, I hope you have a great week, great basketball week.
Yes, sir. You as well, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for having me on.
All right. And I'll see you all next time.